And if you guys want to come closer,
Gather in.
come around.
Take one. Oops. Take one. Hi guys. How are you guys? Good. Okay, so I'm gonna be showing you how to make like a ceramic bust. You're gonna get a packet right now, and basically it's kind of gonna look something like this in terms of like scale and whatnot, but it's probably gonna be a little different from mine because you're gonna have the freedom to kind of run with it a little bit. So have you guys ever made pinch pots before?
Yes.
So basically what we're gonna be doing is you're gonna be making two pinch pots. So one's gonna be the body and one's gonna be the head, and then you're gonna attach them. And so what I did last week was I created this like little mock-up one. And this was a pinch pot, but then once it stiffened up, I was able to lift it and go back and hollow it out. So it's one continuous hole through the head so that when you fire it, it doesn't explode in the kiln with air bubbles. But basically, I'm gonna show you how to kind of like make the pinch pot head and start laying in facial features and whatnot. This handout, if you just like look through it, goes over proportions of the face and head and eyes and where that all falls into place. I know that mine doesn't exactly have the correct proportions because it's kind of difficult sometimes and I'm still learning myself, but if it's not exactly proportional, that's okay. This is your first time, but hopefully you enjoy it. On these pages, these are just like some artists that I follow on Instagram who also just make ceramic busts. And I kind of just like them because you can really get expressive with the emotions. And this particular artist, Tip Tolan, does a lot with like, not in these pieces, but on their other ones, they put on like wigs to make it look really hyper realistic. But you can kind of go whatever way you want with it once I show you like initially how to do it. This other artist kind of works a little differently where they just get like a big chunk of clay and then work reductively and take away to form the facial features. Whereas here we're kind of going to be like adding on. And then on the last page, this is kind of just like to show you guys that throughout history, this isn't ceramics, but this is marble. But busts have always been like kind of prominent to portray people and important people. So yeah. Before I start demoing this and how to start the pinch pots, you can pass these around. I know you guys have sketchbooks, but I made these little handouts that kind of you can sketch on there or in your book and then answer some of the questions. It's kind of just like to get you thinking what direction you want to go with this. So you can look over those. But so what I want you guys to do is kind of, I want you guys to start with the body so that I want you to start with the body so that before you start on the head, it gives it time to stiffen up before you attach the two pieces. Because last week I started with the head and then built the body afterwards, and it was kind of hard because the head was a little heavy. So I had to like create little like enforcements to help hold it while it stiffened. So to avoid that, we're gonna start with the body. So you're gonna want more of like an oval shape rather than like a perfect circle because you're gonna want it a little longer. So I'm just starting and pinching this out and stretching it. What did you guys make with pinch pots before? Just pinch pots. That's fun. Well, with this, we're gonna make 2 halves and attach them, and it's gonna become hollow, which helps a little bit because it holds the form better when there's like a big air bubble holding it up. So it's less likely to just collapse on you. There's other ways that you can approach this with just like simple coil building from the bottom up, but for this one, we're just gonna stick with the pinch pots because it's kind of straightforward and I think everyone will be able to do it. So we're going for this more oval shape. And then you wanna try and get the halves like as even as you can get them. And then you wanna kind of score the edges before you attach them. I'm just gonna use this. Yeah, so you wanna slip and score the edges before you put the two together just to make sure it's really strong. I'm just doing this really quickly, but you guys can, you know, take your time so that it's really nice. Okay, it's like a rough little togetherness. So you're gonna attach them and kind of push together all the edges. And then once most of your edges are touching, you're just gonna start pulling down or pulling up, whatever way the clay kind of overlays, and blend all the edges together until it's kind of seamless. You can take like a rib if you want and just kind of like blend it out. But you're gonna wanna make this form pretty even. Right now it's a little wonky, but once you get down the general shape, you'll be able to move it around a little. So then once you got like your air bubble inside, you can kind of like, I don't want to say beat it, but like punch it around a little bit to shape it and just kind of get your little form going. I like kind of making like sharp shoulders. So like you can kind of just like manipulate the clay to have whatever form you're going for. And then later when you attach the head, I'll show you guys, but you're probably gonna wanna like build a couple coils for the neck and let that stiffen up. But this is just generally the body. I want you guys to build this first so that it can stiffen before you attach the head because it's gonna be a little heavy. And then later we'll go back and cut out the bottom and hollow everything out so that it's a little more lightweight. If you didn't want to carve out the bottom, you could just poke a bunch of holes so that when it does get fired, it doesn't explode in the kiln. But you can like carve out some collarbones and you'll make like a little neck there. So yeah, that's kind of, this looks bad, but it's gonna look something like this after a little work. So then for the head, this is kind of the more fun part. because you get to lay in some of the facial features and whatnot. Is everyone kind of following so far? Are you confused about anything? Okay. So you want to get 2 nice halves. These are kind of bigger chunks of clay, which is good for this. Honestly, you could probably have more than this. This is probably a little small for a head, but that's okay because they're not going to be life size. You can like look up pictures on your Chromebooks if you want to try and like do a celebrity, or you can try and do like a self-portrait. I just like kind of doing characters with like prominent features and sharp cheekbones. Back at school, I'm kind of doing like a series of just like faces, and they're a little creepy because none of them have like pupils, so they all just are kind of staring at you. But I think that once they're all in a room together, they're gonna look kind of cool. So you're gonna slip and score again. And you're gonna attach the pieces again. These are gonna look another oval shape because you're kind of making the head, and you can follow along in the packet a little bit. I don't know if you guys ever did like a drawing class where you drew humans and like proportions and whatnot, but it's a similar concept. You're just building it with your hands now. You want to make sure that you're really blending the edges just so that it's strong, so that when you do start to like kind of squeeze it, it doesn't just like crack open at the seams. So you want to get a good shape going, and just keep using your rib to blend everything and make it stronger. And then you kind of, it looks like a potato, but you kind of want to just start like patting it down and give it more of a head form. This is kind of small for this body. Actually, it's gonna fit good, I feel like. So once you have your head, you want to start laying in the facial features. So like the eyeballs, you can see in the packet, it's like, you wouldn't really think of it like this, but eyeballs are almost like halfway through a middle point in your face. So you want to get your thumbs and kind of like push in a little bit and start getting that form of where you're going to put the eyeballs. While you do that, push on the other parts so it doesn't just like flatten and pancake out. And then you can even, with your thumbs, kind of start pushing up for where the nose is going to be. And just kind of start shaping what your form's going to look like. And then you might want to put in a little spot for where the mouth's going to go. And really just like kind of work it for a little. So like this is just like after a couple seconds of just like laying in some, it's kind of like sketching, like you're just laying in like the initial what it's going to look like. So then I don't have more clay, so I'm just going to grab from here and just act like I didn't do that. You're going to want to, I like adding eyeballs at this point in time so I can see what it's going to look like. So another just scoring at the eye, some slip in there. I'm going to score some of this. Hey, thank you. So you're going to put on a little eyeball. And then to make the eyelids, you're just gonna like get a piece of clay like this and flatten it out a little bit. And then you're gonna want to cut it. So say you have this little piece, and then you're just gonna like lay it on top to form a little eyelid. I'll show you guys what that looks like in a sec. So it's kind of like rough, but you can start to like lay in the features and blend that out if you want. I would look up some like reference photos and maybe sketch some out in your sketchbooks so that you can see like what kind of eye shape you want to go for. Do they have big bags under their eyes? Are they like more hooded? Maybe you don't want them to have eyes and their eyes are just closed. So I really want you guys to like think about emotion and like expression and how you can kind of like show that through these little characters that you're going to be making. But yeah, it's nothing too difficult. I think that you guys will be able to do it just fine. And then you're just gonna like keep adding on and taking away wherever you feel fit. So that's what I want you guys to start right now. And then later, depending on how far you guys get, this kind of took a while, but I'm going to be working with you guys for the next few Thursdays on kind of just working on these, and then we'll attach the heads later on and make necks, and you guys can make hair. Hair's kind of hard, but you guys got it. Maybe you'll put a hat on them. So yeah. Does anyone have any questions right now? Yeah, make the body first, just so that it can stiffen up, even if it's like wonky like this, because you'll be able to, it's honestly easier when it's a little more stiff to hold shape how you want it, because I could flatten this out and then it'd be like a fatter chest. But if you want it like nice and skinny, you can kind of smush it, but it's kind of easier when it's a little harder, just so that it holds whatever form you're kind of going for. And then later we'll attach them, and then if you guys, I don't know how fast you're gonna be working through this, but if you want, because I know that you guys have been making those like flat little sceneries, you could even make like a flat, like setting the scene, like where's this little head sitting? Is it in a field of flowers? Is it just sitting like this? So depending on how far you guys get, you can kind of think about things like that too. So yeah.
So, and notice like the shoulders and your collarbones. That's the stuff you really want to start evolving, getting that chest and shoulder kind of contours in.
So like when we do connect the head, we're gonna probably roll out little coils and then kind of like build up a little. So this wouldn't be here. Then you would just blend that out and build a couple coils going upwards. And like make sure it's really blended in there because you don't want to have air bubbles that'll crack. But once you start like building upwards a little, you could even do that today if you want to do like a neck before you even start the head, just so that later like it sits up nice and good on there. Yeah, needs a little neck. He's cozying up for the winter. If you want, you can put like a scarf on him. You can make them. I mean, I made mine with like no clothes, but if you want to like try and make it look like they're wearing a fabric and like drape it on there, or like get creative, you could bring in fabric and wrap it after it's finished to make it look like it's wearing clothes. You guys can kind of do whatever you want. You can make it creepy. You can make it pretty. Mine are all kind of creepy looking, but that's okay. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. You guys can start with doing some sketches and maybe looking up some like inspiration on your Chromebooks. I don't know if you guys want to do like a celebrity or do a self-portrait. And if you need help, just holler. I'll be walking around.